Parasaurolophus was one of the strangest dinosaurs that ever lived. At first glance, it looked like many other plant-eating dinosaurs. Big body, long tail, and flat mouth. But the thing that made it special was the huge crest on its head. It wasn't just for decoration. Inside that crest were long, empty tubes connected to its nose. When the dinosaur breathed out, air passed through the tubes and made a deep sound, like a horn. Each Parasaurolophus had its own sound, almost like a voice. Some were lower, some were higher. Scientists think they used those sounds to talk to each other, to call their friends, warn about danger, or find their families. It's like how people use voices to stay in touch. This made Parasaurolophus one of the first animals on Earth that truly communicated through sound. The crest could also help it cool down. Air moved inside, spreading through the tubes before leaving again, which helped control its body temperature. That was important, because the world back then was very hot. The crest was more than just a tool. It was part of how the dinosaur lived every day. Parasaurolophus walked mostly on 4 legs, but when it needed to reach higher branches or look around, it could stand on 2. It wasn't a fighter. Its teeth were made for chewing plants, not for defense. It survived by staying in groups. Together, the herd could hear danger before they even saw it. When one Parasaurolophus made a warning call, the others knew instantly that something was wrong. Its mouth was full of hundreds of small teeth that worked like a grinder. It could eat hard plants and break them into small pieces. When old teeth wore out, new ones replaced them. That's why it could spend most of the day eating without problems. It ate ferns, pine needles, and other soft plants that grew near rivers. Parasaurolophus wasn't small. Some adults were longer than a bus and weighed almost 4 tons. But even with that size, it could move surprisingly fast when it had to. The long tail helped it balance when it ran on 2 legs. Most of the time, though, it didn't need to run. Traveling in groups kept them safe. Scientists have found many fossils of Parasaurolophus skulls, and some even recreated how its crest worked. When they blew air through the tubes, the sound was deep, powerful, and a little scary. Something you could probably hear from far away. That sound wasn't just noise, it was part of their lives. It helped them find food, stay together, and survive. So Parasaurolophus wasn't a fighter or a hunter. It was a communicator. It used sound to protect itself, care for its young, and live peacefully with others. It shows that sometimes in the world of dinosaurs, being loud was just as powerful as being strong. The most famous part of Parasaurolophus is its long, curved crest. It starts from the top of its head and stretches far back, almost like a giant horn. But it wasn't for fighting or showing off. It was a part of how this dinosaur breathed, talked, and even stayed cool. Inside the crest were long, hollow tubes connected to the nose. When the dinosaur breathed, the air went through those tubes before going out. When it pushed air harder, it made a deep, loud sound. Each Parasaurolophus had a different shape of crest, so the sound was different too. That's how they recognized each other, by voice. Imagine a herd of Parasaurolophus walking through the valley. You'd hear their calls echoing like long, low horns. The sound could travel far, maybe more than a kilometer. It wasn't just random noise. They used it to call the herd, to warn about danger, and to keep families close. The crest also helped them cool down. When the air passed through those long tubes, it took some heat out of their body. That helped them live comfortably, even when it was hot. Some scientists think the crest might have even changed color a little when blood flowed through it. Maybe brighter when the dinosaur was active or excited. Parasaurolophus had big lungs and strong breathing muscles, which made it easy to blow air through the crest for a long time. It didn't get tired quickly. That's why they could talk across big distances. Their calls were slow, deep, and full of energy, something that probably made smaller dinosaurs nervous. There were also differences between males and females. Males usually had longer crests, which made their sound deeper. Females had shorter crests and higher calls. When they gathered, the herd probably made a mix of tones, like a natural orchestra of dinosaurs. Even young ones had small crests that grew bigger as they got older. They learned how to make sounds by listening to the adults. Scientists believe they practiced, like birds learning songs. It shows how smart and social Parasaurolophus was. It didn't survive by fighting, but by communicating. Its brain, though small, had strong hearing centers. That means sound was a big part of its life. It could tell the direction of a call, the tone, and maybe even the mood behind it. So, this dinosaur didn't just live. It listened, understood, and replied. Parasaurolophus used its crest like we use our voice and expression. It didn't need claws or teeth to defend itself. Its power was in its sound. The more we learn about it, the more it feels like one of the most advanced and intelligent dinosaurs of its kind. Parasaurolophus didn't like being alone. These dinosaurs lived together in big groups called herds. It made life easier and safer. When many eyes watched the land, it was harder for a predator to sneak up. If one dinosaur noticed danger, it made a loud sound through its crest and the whole herd reacted at once. Inside the herd, everything had order. The adults walked on the outside, forming a living wall around the younger ones. The young stayed close to the center where it was safe. They learned how to walk, how to eat, and even how to make sounds by copying their parents. This helped them grow stronger and smarter. Parasaurolophus didn't fight often. They weren't built for that. They had no claws or sharp teeth. Their main weapon was teamwork. If a big predator like Albertosaurus appeared, the herd didn't run in panic. They moved together, forming lines, ready to escape in one direction. Even without fighting, they could confuse a hunter and protect their young. Food was a daily job. Parasaurolophus spent most of the day eating. They used their flat beaks to grab plants and their strong jaws to chew. They liked leaves, pine needles, and ferns, anything soft and green. Their teeth worked like a machine. When old ones wore out, new ones grew in the same place. The herds often moved long distances. When food became scarce or rivers dried up, they migrated. Dozens of dinosaurs walking together created deep footprints that sometimes fossilized and stayed for millions of years. Those tracks are how scientists know they lived in groups. Communication was key. They didn't just make random sounds. Each tone meant something. A deep, long call could mean danger. A short one could mean it's safe. A different tone could call the young back or signal it's time to move. Their voices kept the herd connected, even when they were far apart. Parasaurolophus were also caring. When a young one got tired, adults sometimes slowed down or stood beside it. If a small one got separated, its cry could bring the herd back. That kind of social behavior made them strong as a group. At night, they likely rested close together, forming a circle or a tight line near water. Adults stood on guard while the younger ones slept. This teamwork was their best defense. It's why Parasaurolophus survived so long, not by being strong alone, but by standing together. Even though they couldn't fight like predators, they built their strength through family, unity, and sound. In their world, survival wasn't just about power. It was about trust. And that's what made the herd of Parasaurolophus one of the most successful groups of dinosaurs in history. Even though Parasaurolophus was large, it wasn't safe. It had no claws, no sharp teeth, and no armor. Its only real defense was its herd and its legs. The biggest danger came from predators like Albertosaurus, or smaller packs of raptors that hunted near rivers and forests. Albertosaurus was a close relative of Tyrannosaurus but a bit smaller. It could run faster, and had sharp teeth made for tearing flesh. A lone Parasaurolophus had no chance against it. That's why they always stayed in groups. When a predator got too close, one Parasaurolophus gave a deep warning sound through its crest. In seconds, the herd started moving. Adults formed a wall around the young, and then they ran. Running together made it hard for predators to pick a single target. Dust rose from the ground, and the low rumbling calls echoed through the air. The scene must have been powerful. Dozens of dinosaurs moving like one living wave. The predators knew it was hard to attack such an organized group. Still, sometimes the weakest got caught. Old or sick Parasaurolophus couldn't keep up. But even then, they gave the herd time to escape. Nature was harsh, and every creature played its part in survival. Smaller predators like Dromaeosaurus hunted differently. They used ambushes. They hid in bushes and attacked the young. but the adults had strong tails and could swing them hard enough to scare off smaller hunters. The tail was long and heavy, and a single hit could break bones. So even without claws, Parasaurolophus wasn't defenseless. Its eyes were on the sides of its head, giving it a wide view. It could see almost everything around it except directly behind. That helped it notice danger before it was too late. Its hearing was also very strong, which made the crest even more useful. It could both make sound and detect it from far away. Predators respected the herd. They knew that if one Parasaurolophus noticed them, soon the whole group would move. So they usually hunted at dawn or dusk when light was low and visibility was poor. Parasaurolophus learned to stay alert at those times. Their senses and communication helped them survive in a world full of danger. Even though they lived peacefully, their world was not easy. Every day meant watching for movement in the trees, listening for distant steps, and staying close to family. It wasn't fear. It was instinct, and it kept them alive for millions of years. For millions of years, Parasaurolophus lived peacefully across the river plains of North America. But one day, everything started to change. The weather became strange. Seasons grew hotter and then colder. Plants they used to eat began to disappear. Volcanic eruptions darkened the sky, and acid rain made leaves bitter and hard to chew. The world they knew was starting to fall apart, slowly at first, then faster. Parasaurolophus didn't understand what was happening. It only followed the same instincts as always. Find food, keep the herd together, protect the young. But every year life got harder. Rivers dried out sooner. Forests burned more often. The old feeding grounds turned into dry land with nothing green left. Still, the herd kept moving, searching for better places. They traveled farther than ever before. Sometimes they found new valleys full of plants, but those moments didn't last. Soon after, ash would cover the ground, or storms would destroy everything again. Then came the event that ended their world. The asteroid impact. A giant rock from space hit the Earth near what is now Mexico. The explosion was stronger than anything that ever existed. Fires spread across continents. A huge cloud of dust blocked the sun. For months, maybe years, darkness covered the planet. Without sunlight, plants stopped growing. For plant eaters like Parasaurolophus, that was the end. Even the strongest herds couldn't survive when food was gone. One by one, the herds disappeared. Not in one big disaster, but over time as the land went silent. But what's amazing is that some of their fossils show they survived longer than many others. That means Parasaurolophus adapted better than most dinosaurs. Their strong social groups and ability to move long distances gave them a chance to last a little longer. Scientists found footprints that may have been left by the last herds. It's strange to imagine them walking together through ash and smoke, still using their voices, still protecting their young, even when the world was dying around them. That's not just survival, that's loyalty and instinct. In the end, Parasaurolophus didn't fall because it was weak. It fell because the world itself changed too fast. But it left a mark that lasted forever, not just in stone, but in how we remember them today. Peaceful giants that used sound, not violence, to survive. Their world ended, but their story didn't. Every fossil, every bone, every footprint is a message that even when everything changes, unity and intelligence matter. Millions of years after the last Parasaurolophus disappeared, its story still lives on. When scientists first found its bones, they were surprised by the shape of its head. The long, curved crest looked strange. Nothing else like it had ever been seen before. At first, no one knew what it was for. Some thought it helped them breathe underwater. Others believed it was used for fighting or for cooling their bodies. But later, scientists discovered the truth. The crest was a sound machine. Inside the crest were hollow tubes that worked like a musical instrument. When air passed through them, they made deep, echoing sounds that could travel for miles. Parasaurolophus didn't just make noise. It used sound to talk, to warn, to comfort, and to lead. That discovery changed how people saw dinosaurs. It showed they weren't just monsters. They were smart, social creatures that lived and worked together. Today, Parasaurolophus is one of the most famous dinosaurs in the world. It appears in museums, documentaries, and movies. Artists love to draw it because of its unique shape and gentle look. Children often choose it as their favorite plant eater because it seems peaceful, not scary. It became a symbol of harmony and communication in the age of giants. The crest also inspired modern science. Some engineers studied its design to understand how sound moves through hollow structures. Even musicians found inspiration. Some recreated its deep calls using instruments to hear what the ancient world might have sounded like. Every fossil found tells us a little more about how these dinosaurs lived. Some skeletons show scars or healed injuries, proving they lived long and faced danger many times. Others were found in groups, confirming that they stayed together, even in death. That loyalty became part of their legacy. Parasaurolophus taught us that strength isn't always about claws or teeth. Sometimes it's about connection, about staying together, about understanding each other, even without words. That's why it's remembered not as a warrior, but as a communicator. The dinosaur that spoke through sound. Even now, millions of years later, when we look at its fossils or listen to recreated sounds of its calls, we can almost imagine a herd moving across an ancient valley, their deep voices rolling like thunder, echoing through time. The sound may have faded, but the message stayed. Stay united, stay kind, and keep your voice strong. That's the legacy of the Parasaurolophus, the sound bearer of the dinosaur world. The age of dinosaurs may have ended, but their story is far from over. Each fossil, each bone, and each footprint we uncover brings us closer to understanding how life once ruled this planet. They walked the same earth we do, breathed the same air, and faced a world of challenges that shaped everything that came after. From the mighty Tyrannosaurus to the peaceful Parasaurolophus, from the hunters to the giants of the sky and sea, each one left behind a chapter in the story of life. They remind us that strength takes many forms: power, intelligence, unity, and survival. Even though millions of years have passed, their voices still echo through time, in the stones beneath our feet, and in the hearts of everyone who still wonders what it was like when giants ruled the earth. The world may have changed, but their legacy endures. The titans will return, not in flesh and bone, but in memory, in discovery, and in every story we tell.